The Mount Moon Review podcast, while a podcast about Pokemon, is not intended for children. You can expect some instances of adult humor, coarse language, and adult situations. Parental discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the Mount Moon Review podcast, the only podcast that accepts all types, including the fairy types. I'm your host, the Razgrees, with my host, the Blue Gut Gold Duck, bringing you everything you need to know about the world of Pokemon from the past week in about an hour. Duck, how's your week been, buddy?
Pretty good week this time. Had a nice chill. Thought I had a totally busy weekend and ended up being able to kick back and watch the Dallas Regionals pretty much the whole stream.
I thought I was going to spend my weekend watching regionals. Instead, I went up to Tulsa, I went north instead of south. I didn't end up going to Dallas for various reasons, but I did go up to Tulsa, and I found this awesome Mongolian restaurant. I found an Asian supermarket, so I was able to stock up on all my Asian candies for Chinese New Year next week.
Oh, did you get the soda with the little golf ball in it?
Oh, the marble soda. The boys get that all
Yeah.
the time. Yeah, we always have marble soda. But I actually was able to get the canned coffee from Hawaii that I like so much, and I was able to get it for like $1 a can, which I was like shocked by. Usually it's like $17 for a 6 pack. But
Oh,
so I was able to do that. But when I was up there, I found a plethora of stores that participate with the VGC tournaments. So it's not, usually in a lot of places, especially up where you're from, there's a lot of stores that do the TCG, not so much with the VGC. And I found a whole cluster of stores that actually participate with one traveling professor and do a whole VGC series. So like every month they have a couple challenges up in that area. So fingers
awesome.
crossed. Next month I'm going to start hitting those up. But I didn't get to watch a whole lot of Dallas, but you did, thankfully enough. And on every chance I got, I was checking my phone on our Discord, and you guys were blowing it up, talking about how good the stream was.
Yeah, I was really surprised. In the past, I never really watched much VGC because even though I understood the battle mechanics, it was still kind of hard to follow. They did a much better job of showing us the Pokemon that each player brought, and when one's knocked out, it's just more. It's streamlined much better now than it was in the past.
Well, the thing that I noticed they did differently was typically they have two different streams going on for different regionals or internationals, what have you. They'll have the TCG stream and they'll have the VGC stream. And they didn't do that this time around. They just kind of bounced back and forth. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, so they had the first 4 rounds. I think it was 4 or 5 rounds was VGC on Saturday, and then the following rounds until the end of the stream was TCG.
Oh, okay. The way I had saw some posts ahead of time, they were going to be bouncing back and forth. At least they showed a little bit of consistency, but I kind of wish they had separated the streams and done it so you could, if you're interested in VGC, you could just watch VGC, or if you're interested in TCG, you could just stick to that. I mean,
I completely agree. I didn't really want to watch TCG.
hmm
So I did kind of get distracted from the stream when they switched. But
well,
yeah, I would have kept VGC on the whole time. I would have probably continued watching.
so this week, last week we spoke almost entirely about the video game side. This week we are going to be very much card game based this time around with everything from I'm seeing from your format. But let's go ahead and knock the VGC stuff out of the way first because there is a little bit we wanted to go over. But let's go ahead and knock that out just real quick. So what do you got on your
Okay.
format?
Just we're going to talk about the Dallas Regional stream.
Go
And
ahead.
like said it was a little weird because they switched, or what I mean, they didn't have two streams, so
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can
okay, I
only watch
kind
one
of
or the other at a time.
I'm gonna go back and watch the VODs just because I want to see how it looked on the stream. Uh, and traditionally that's not something I do. At Pokemon's usually is you either watch it live or you don't watch it at all because by the time you even log into any form of social media, just by the people we follow and the groups we belong to, we already know who's going to win everything. So it's kind of
Oh, I mean that's totally true. But I did watch VGC as kind of like it's just to watch people better than me play, so I could learn better. Or I watched TCG back when I played frequently. I would go back and watch all the VODs and for certain players and make sure I took notes. And
I
learned
did
from
see
them.
that somebody played Unknown. Somebody played Unknown on stream apparently, because I saw a couple of the stills coming out of it on like Verbank and stuff of that nature. So
Oh, was that picture from?
it sure looked like it. I showed it to you
from-
earlier. It was
Yeah,
definitely
I
it was
thought that
definitely
was
it was
Didn't they
definitely an official stream.
Didn't they?
Well, regardless.
Yeah.
On the VGC side, just real quick, there is another official event going on. I believe it starts on the 23rd, and
Yes.
it's entitled Galar Newcomers. It's going to run just like the other one did, like all the other online events, except it sure as heck looks like this one is going to have points attached to it. Because it was, when you were signing up for it, it designated whether you were juniors, seniors, or masters. And it specifically had a disclaimer saying if the age you have on your Switch account is not the same as your TCPI account, the points wouldn't be added.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
So I'm not sure if it's championship points or if it's something similar to what they did with the global link, but it was there, so I'm not sure exactly what it means.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the rule set that they put out here, and it doesn't say anything. It doesn't in this post. It doesn't say anything about receiving any kind of points, but that doesn't mean you won't.
Right. I would bank on the fact that it probably won't be championship points, but it did say
Right.
points.
Oh, it
wouldn't
does
be
say
added.
all players get 50 BP, but I mean that's the same as last time.
Yeah, that's the same as last time, and we all get BP for that. But regardless, sign up for it. I mean, it's good practice, if nothing else. If you want to get in the VGC, if you're playing online, these are good practices. I don't like the fact that they don't allow you to do tournaments like they do with like a Premier Challenge, where you play Swiss rounds or stuff like that. You have to play this randomized. You can play 15 matches a day stuff. I don't like that. I wish they had an option so you could do it like you would a sit-down event, but I understand there's probably some kind of limitation on the back end that makes it so they can't do that. So I can't complain too much.
And that's like asking every player to the only players that, if they do that, then the only players that can participate in their tournament are players that can sit down at the exact time that they give you to
Yeah,
sit down.
and it's another one of those back end limitations to it. For those of you that are interested, if you watch our streams at all, you'll know we have a Discord, and we do events like that though, where we sit down, we actually play Swiss rounds just like you would at a Premier event. But I'm not gonna sit here and plug that tonight. If you're at all interested in it, get on our Discord. Boom, there you are. So I think that is all we're covering for VGC tonight, though. Is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
All right.
And we can just go over the rules for Galar Newcomers real quick.
Go ahead.
It's only Gen 8 Pokemon. So, like, basically groupie to the Pokemon in the Pokedex before Zacian and Zamazenta are the only ones allowed to be used.
Outstanding. Any
And
other
then
is there any
double
limitations
battle.
on Gmaxes or anything of that nature? Or is it going to be the same as the battle set too?
Gigantamax Pokemon are allowed, but you're just it's just limited to the Gen 8 Gmax Pokemon. So like you can't have Charizard. So obviously you can't use Gmax Charizard.
Right on. So there's your rules, folks. Check it out. I mean, it's definitely worth doing. But I'm signed up, and the boys are signed up, so I guess we're playing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be busy on those dates, so I really won't have time to play.
At least go in there and get one match, get your 50 BP though.
Good point.
All right, moving on to TCG, because there is definitely a lot of it. Oh my lord, have they gone through and changed this game? And the fact that I'm not, I was scared to death if I went to Dallas, I would end up judging something, and I was not prepared to judge a TCG event. Not at all. Not one bit. Because of all the different rule changes, I know I would have screwed something up.
Well, these rules aren't in effect yet.
They're not, but people were going to think they were, and they were,
yeah,
and there was going to be back and forth, and then everything about fairy types. I know my head would have exploded.
League has been a buzz about that. There were people that think the fairy types are coming out of Pokemon altogether.
Well, we're here to set the record straight, folks. So, Duck, go
Yeah.
ahead, get us started.
All right, so we're just gonna go down the rule changes here as I wrote them in order. That they're not in a list of best to worst or anything like that. Just the order I typed them. And so the first rule is the player going first on turn 1 can no longer play a supporter card. And I guess the reason they're implementing this rule is because they want to make it less important to go first. But I really see this ending in a lot of now the player that goes second can attack and play a supporter on their first turn.
Yeah, really, they've taken to the point now where going first is a huge disadvantage. I don't see an advantage to going first anymore at all.
I couldn't imagine this rule being in play when double colorless Zoroark or
Oh yeah.
or Buzzwole was in play. I guess Zoroark not so much because you have to evolve, so your opponent couldn't use it unless Wally was. Never mind. That's a whole rabbit hole we can get down. But with Buzzwole in play, does 30 to your active and 30 to the bench for 1 energy? That would be stupid.
It would be, and essentially we've also killed off Lily. Lily's dead because turn 1 Lily's no longer a thing. Then we have. I don't understand it. What is the advantage to going first now at all? There really is none. There is only an advantage to go
first?
second. I guess. I mean, maybe. I mean, that might be the only real thing left. I mean, there were certain decks I played where I had the advantage of going second, and I always played it that way, and it always messed with people too because I always knew for sure, even if I lost the coin flip, there was a very good chance they were going to go first. So I knew my setup was uniquely ready for that. Now I think everyone's going to be gunning for going second, just so they can play that supporter off.
Yeah, I've been trying to read some like pros and listen to pros talk about it and see what they're thinking, and a lot of them just say you're going to build decks that around not playing supporters on turn 1. Like a lot of decks have always been built on getting a specific supporter to set up, and now it's different. What you might see is people playing, like the person who goes second might play different supporters now, like maybe they play Steven's Resolve more often to just build up their hand because they're they have more time to set up without their opponent completely overpowering them with cards like Welder in format, where playing Welder on turn 1 is nuts.
Well, I think you're definitely going to see a big change in the cards that we've seen previously. It's going to change the meta in a very dramatic fashion. I just don't know if it's, from my perspective, if it's going to be a good change. I always like seeing it. I like seeing the meta get turned on its head. I don't like seeing the same decks month after month after month. I like seeing things change. I want to go back to a time when everyone had a different deck. Not, these are the 3 decks you're going to see at regionals. I mean, that's never going to happen, unfortunately, with the advent of websites like Limitless, for example, where I guarantee you I could probably go on Limitless right now. I haven't, and if it's not up there today, it'll probably be up there within the next day or two. All the decks that were used in the top 15 or so from Dallas. And
so go ahead.
I would say people are just going to emulate that because they know, well, that's obviously works, so I'm going to do that. And then next month maybe a couple of the players will have come up with a counter to that. But again, it's. I think the big thing with Dallas being that it was expanded, we're not going to see. Hopefully, the next event I believe is standard. I think I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on it. So hopefully we would see something different coming out of there. Go ahead, Duck.
I was just gonna say there was a time where I thought I wanted a very diverse meta, where coming from locals where everybody was playing something weird, to playing competitively and finding that meta that was, or just about that same time that the meta was Zoroark, Buzzwole, Garbodor,
which you hated.
I hated it, and then when it changed, and it kind of broke apart and there were more diverse decks, I was like, wait, I like sitting down at the table and knowing exactly what I had to do against every single deck I sat down against.
But that's the beauty of it, though, not knowing, and not, because there's a lot of times when you faced with Buzzwole, you knew, okay, this turn he's gonna beast ring me. Absolutely. You can see the setup coming a mile away, and it becomes whoever did one move first would be a domino, and that would be the end of it. You already knew the outcome of the game.
Well,
two
you
or
would
three
try to
turns in.
play around the beast ring as much as you could.
But my point is, with a more diverse meta, I think it's more fun. That's just me. I like playing local leagues because you never know what someone's going to pull out.
Yeah, I guess there's something to be said for both sides of the coin.
Well, and also at your local leagues, people actually take risks. They take chances because there's nothing on the line.
Yeah.
What do they have to worry about? They didn't spend $1,800 in flight, hotels, tolls, and everything else just to get there, and then they have to play that competitive deck, or they're not going to have a chance. But at local leagues, they're going to be pulling out stuff like, wow, this is a unique twist. I haven't seen anybody play. Okay, like for example, I saw someone at a local league one time, well after its prime, played Sylveon. Now I thought they were playing my Sylveon deck that I used to play, and it wasn't. It wasn't that at all. And it's like, what's I'm trying to figure out what she was doing with it. She just likes Sylveon. So she was playing Sylveon just because she likes Sylveon. And it was a fun game. I mean, something with the kids that come in, especially, and we've talked about it 1,800 times. They come in with that bag of cards for their first event, and they're so excited that they have these are my cards. I'm going to play Pokemon, and they really have no idea how to play. And then you're teaching them how to play the game, and within a month or so of coming to a local league, they start building their own decks. They start modifying and molding those theme decks that you start them out with. And it doesn't matter how often you push them towards like Limitless, their parents aren't buying them the bloody things. So they're going to play with the cards that they have, and they're going to understand the workings of them, and they're going to come up with some unique combinations. You're going to see stuff because I like Pikachu, so I'm going to play a Pikachu deck or an electric type deck, or I like everything yellow, so I'm going to play all these yellow cards. I mean, it could be anything of that nature, and I like it. It's fun. But again, with the advent of the internet and everyone knowing what everybody played, the meta's here to stay. It's never going to go away, and that's for any TCG, not just Pokemon. So I can't sit here and complain that it's a single solitary thing. Okay, that's Raz's soapbox for the week. What do we got next?
Next is a change to the way resistance works, and they're changing it from minus 20. It was minus 20. Now it's minus 30.
So I mean, you're going to make resistance a little bit more relevant. 10 points in the grand scheme of things might not be a game changer, but it's definitely going to get people's attention.
I actually think it might be a game changer because I played Gardevoir GX in a time when Zoroark GX was in its prime, and that 20 damage definitely came into play a lot. Like, people were constantly screwing up their math. They were making an attack that they shouldn't have made because they thought they were going to knock it out and they didn't because of resistance, or they, made the wrong play because now a 2-hit knockout is a 3-hit knockout. So it's going to create that situation in much more abundance.
It's quite possible. And for those of you watching the stream live, yes, Duck's video is freezing here and there. Just ignore it. We'll keep going.
Okay. Hope the audio is okay.
Yep, the audio is recording fine. I'm watching your levels right now. I'm still getting your audio. Every once in a while, though, your video kind of goes.
Okay. All right. So the next change. Well, first, I want to point out that they're not changing weakness, which is a much more relevant change they need to make. I think. Yeah, I said I wanted them to do two things a while back, and that was make more types and have weakness be plus 20 or minus 20. Or, weakness resistance be plus 20, minus 30. 20. Maybe it can be plus 30, minus 30. That would be fine.
Well, you got a little something. You got to give them that. You got some of your wishes.
I didn't get any of my wishes.
Oh, you kind of did. They made
said
a change.
More types.
They made a change.
More types.
They made a change.
In the wrong direction. The change we're talking about is fairy type is now being taken away in the TCG. It's leaving the TCG. Fairy type will still remain in the game, in the video game, in the show. Sylveon will always remain a fairy type. But just like Gengar in the TCG is represented by the psychic typing, now fairy types like Sylveon will also be represented by the psychic type in the TCG.
Yeah, so this is the most controversial thing I've seen in a long time. It's you go on any of the websites or any of the Facebook groups or any of the Discords, and you'll think it's finally okay. It's been settled. People understand it.
They don't understand
the next damn day. There it is. I've seen a certain professor that we both know. I think he's going to have an aneurysm eventually trying to explain this. But yeah, fairy types. It's not. So okay, so here's the big questions, and let me pose them to you as though I was your average everyday like Reddit user speaking to the illustrious Professor Duck. So Duck, does that mean I have to take all the fairy cards out of my deck?
No, illustrious Reddit user. You actually can keep all the fairy cards in your deck. All the cards that require fairy energy still require that energy. They're just not going to print any more cards that require fairy energy.
So does that...
Well, go ahead.
Does that mean that steel types are going to be unstoppable?
No, because steel is actually strong against fairy. You mean like dragon types being unstoppable?
Sure.
They're not going to print any more Pokemon with fairy type weakness either, which means dragon type weakness will adjust to something different.
So essentially, the big thing people are not getting is the cards that are already printed, already out there, already in your decks. They're not going away. This is going forward. From Sword and Shield forward, those cards are now... You're still going to get your Sylveons, but they're going to be represented as psychic types.
The pink cards are now purple.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only difference.
That's it.
And conceivably, in your deck, you could have a psychic and a fairy type Sylveon at some point.
Yeah. Yep, there's Sylveon that's going to be legal until 2021. So
now that also means that if you're playing a psychic Sylveon, you can't use a fairy energy. And if you're using a fairy Sylveon, you can't use a psychic energy.
Yes.
Is there any other questions you've seen people pose about this yet?
Nope.
Because that's the big ones. They're trying to understand the energy, trying to if they're being banned or that's not happening. They're telling you going forward, we're just not going to make them anymore.
Yep. That's the only.
Now at some point you're going to see, at the end of the year, what sets are going to be legal going forward. Well, unless they're going to limit the decks to almost nothing, we're still going to have them in the 2020-2021 rotation. There's no way they could rotate them out that fast. It's going to take at least 2 cycles to get them rotated out.
Yeah, they're not going to... After rotation, conceivably, as patterns have shown, it could be different. It could always be different, but going with the pattern that they've gone for years, we will have Team Up onwards in August.
Now, that's speculation. It's not anything we know. It's just
right,
basing off of experience.
Off of the past, how many sets they rotated in the past. That's what we're left with.
Yep. So basically, Sun and Moon goes bye-bye at this point.
Well, the tag
team's not... Is tag team up Sun and Moon?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a little bit of Sun and Moon.
We'll have every set with tag teams in it. That's where they're going to draw the line. When tag teams started, that's what we'll have left. And then in the following year, in August of 2021, they should rotate the 4 sets with tag teams.
Right on. So don't throw away all your fairy types. Don't do anything of that nature. It's not needed. We're still good. You can still have your Sylveons, folks. We're still good.
And then adversely from this, because of fairy type being absorbed and the psychic type representing psychic, ghost, poison, and fairy type, they are taking the poison typing out of the equation and adding poison type to dark type.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, other than poison types are weak to ground, and ground is represented by fighting, and dark types are weak to fighting, so their weaknesses would be the same. That's the only correlation I can see there. Other than, I guess the characteristics of poison types are kind of dark to begin with.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what move sets they're going to be using going forward on the TCG side. Are we going to see an abundance of cards that have that poison ability to them?
Oh, like that cause poison or
Yes.
require like maybe. I mean, we
Th-
already yeah, a lot of poison types can do that.
Yeah, I mean I've seen more people get screwed up at events trying to calculate or forgetting to calculate poison, burn, that kind of stuff. Um, I'm just wondering if it's going to decrease it. Which, in case if that's the case, I can actually see it causing more confusion because people forget. It'll be completely out of people's minds, and when they do have a poison marker on the board, they're going to completely forget about it. But I think that's partly going to be where the Pokemon checkup comes in, which we're going to get to here in a minute.
Yeah, that's not actually the next
It's not
thing
next. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. There's so much. I'm not going to get out of order on this because inevitably, if we try to come back around, we're going to forget something. And Duck worked very hard on this, so let's just give Duck the respect he needs and follow it in order this 1 week. I'm not going to jump around on him this week and watch his eyes bug out of his head.
Yeah, I just realized that I did not have. I had the rules pulled up last week, and I didn't pull them up this week.
What
for
were
the
you
rule
thinking,
changes.
Duck? Seriously,
got
what
it
were
right
you
here.
thinking?
I was thinking I did it last week. Okay.
So you don't
Okay,
mess with
I'm
your,
ready.
so you don't mess with your computer week to week. You just leave all the How many windows do you have tabbed, Duck?
Um,
If you ever met a
on which
toolbar you didn't
monitor?
like,
Which monitor? They're all they're all Google Chrome, by the way. 1, 2, 3. Windows or tabs?
how many
Just kidding.
how many toolbars do you have there, Grandma?
I wonder why my video is freezing.
All right, what do you got next?
Some cards are receiving an errata, and so I heard a lot of hype when some of these erratas came out, like the energy retrieval. It says before it used to say put 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand, and because of the rules in TCG, if you have the maximum amount of targets, you have to put 2 in your discard. You couldn't just pick 1, or you had, if they were coming from your discard, your opponent knows how many you have in there, so you would have to put up to 2, the maximum amount possible, back into the deck or back into your hand. You couldn't just be like, you couldn't say just 1 and then leave one of the targets in there, if that makes sense. Am I saying that in a way it makes sense?
I think so.
Okay. Now it says put up to 2, which means you can play it and take 1 now. That before you couldn't. Before you were forced to take 2 if you had 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the up to 2, can cause you're going to be able to thin your deck a little bit better. You can't play it and take 0. Even if you can't play it if there aren't any.
Well,
and you can't play it and take 0
You've
because it
never
has to
been
make
able
an
to.
effect
You've
on the
never
game.
been able to play a card that has no effect,
Right.
That cannot have an effect.
Right. And I think confusion with that might have been why people were so hyped, because they were thinking they could just play it and burn a card in their deck.
Yeah. Nope. You can't
But
do that.
just
You've
like
never
Welder,
you've never been able to do
Welder-
that.
Welder says attach up to 2 fire energy from your hand and draw. If you don't have any fire energy in your hand, you can't play Welder and draw 3.
Bingo. And and that's the big thing with people, you have to be able to prove what somebody knows. If they know a card will not have an effect, they can't play it. But then as a judge, how do you prove a person doesn't know something? You can't. It's one of those things where they say it's a judge call, but it's really not, because you can't prove anything in a lot of cases. But in these cases where you have situations where it's, well, I'm just going to burn this card. Well, no, because that's not what the intent was. And that's where the errata comes in. And we have a situation with the errata that I personally hate, is a lot of players that do not play like super competitively don't know the errata even exists. So they'll play a card at like their first tournament, their first little league challenge, and you run into the problem whereas the player they're playing against knows what the errata is in the card, and they'll call them for it, and you're making that up. And then as the judge, you have to go over there. No, it really is. It doesn't matter what the card actually says. This is what they wanted it to say. So there's this document that doesn't actually exist. It's only exists in cyberspace. and you have to know to look for it to even read the stuff. Like the word errata, even anybody's vernacular or anything of that nature, that they have to go out and find that every quarter.
Most of the cards they're printing or that they errated are years old.
Yeah, usually.
Now, sometimes they will print a card wrong, and that's where it comes into play a lot. Like with the
Cyrus Prism
what
Star.
was like a Cyrus Prism Star.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a problem.
That was errata before the card was even out of the packs.
PokeBeach wrote an article. They said, "Hey, this card was
busted.
Is probably wrong because this isn't how they normally translate cards." And then it comes out, they're like, "Oops," and they errated it. Like if they would just like pay attention to the internet, they probably would have seen it before they printed it.
Yeah, I think that was Ultra Prism. I think.
Yes.
I remember I pulled one at your pre-release, and I pulled it, and you're like, "Oh, that's errated." I just opened it out of the pack. How would you even know? And that's the thing.
My game.
But that's my point. As people that are hyper competitive or your professors, they know about that kind of stuff. But you, as a professor, that is one of your biggest problems with new people coming in and at your smaller events like your league challenges, because people don't know errata is even a thing, and they don't really talk about it.
Palpad is another one that got an errata. It said shuffle 2 supporters from your discard pile into your deck. Now it says shuffle up to 2. That one could cause some problems because it's still in standard play with the wrong printing.
Yeah, and that's going to be a thing where judge yep. Constantly, and then that person is going to, it's going to cause a big slowdown in play. And luckily at your major events like your regionals and your internationals, people are aware of that kind of thing, and you don't really have to worry about that as much. But your smaller events, it always causes a problem. Not saying it didn't have to happen. I'm not saying that it shouldn't have happened. I'm just stating a fact that it is an issue sometimes, and sometimes you just have to live with it. And if you're at an event and you run into somebody who calls a judge because you're trying to play this card, have some patience. Don't get too frustrated, because it's only natural that they might not know about this. And you should direct them to listen to the podcast, because then they'd have this information. But yeah, you're seeing with the errata too. You're seeing things like Quick Ball, for example. That's shooting up in price.
Quick Ball has a huge errata.
Yeah, go on.
So before, Quick Ball used to say, reveal cards from your deck until you reveal a Pokemon. Show that Pokemon to your opponent and put it into your hand. Shuffle the other revealed cards back into your deck.
And now
it says, you can play this card only if you discard another card from your hand, search your deck for a basic Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck.
So you might as well just get like a label maker, print it out, and like they stick it over top of the card, because it's completely different now.
You can't actually.
I'm not actually advocating doing that. I'm being a smart ass. Okay. But one of our longtime listeners, John Boy, mentioned in chat that card went from being 5 cents to $5 because of the change in there. It's become a very popular card all of a sudden.
I collect the different Pokeball cards, so I actually have 2 different Quick Balls, I think.
Nice. I do like the Pokeball cards. I mean, the different ones that come out. It seems like every time there's a new, about once a quarter, it changes which one's like this the one. This is the card. Now we're going back to Quick Ball. What was it? Team Up? No, not Team Up. What was the one that came out that all of a sudden everyone's like, I have to have the Cherish Ball?
Oh, with the Mewtwo set, Unified Minds.
Yes, Cherish Ball became the card. I mean, and we were all scrambling to try to find them.
And remember Ultra Ball?
Ultra Ball used to be a thing.
Of the Pokeballs?
It used to be a thing, not anymore. I have literally a stack of Ultra Balls, and I have no use for them at all anymore.
A couple other cards that received erratas are some berries, and if you watched my Twitch playthrough of Pokemon Ruby version, you know that I love berries.
You do.
Lumberry is reprinted back from the EX Emerald and EX Ruby and Sapphire era, and before it just said if If the Pokemon this card is attached to is affected by any status condition or any special conditions, it recovers from all of them and you discard this card. So it's a tool, you attach it. If you get burnt during your turn, you discard it. Now it just says at the end of the turn. So it wouldn't actually clear the status effect until at the end of the turn. So if you have an attack that does damage based on your status conditions or your opponent's status conditions, that would still it wouldn't affect the damage. The Lum Berry doesn't affect the damage that attack causes.
That was well thought out and articulate. Do we have any other erratas, or is that just?
Yeah, Citrus Berry also gets the change. So if a Pokemon this card is attached to has 3 more damage counters, heal 30 damage from it, and discard this card. It's another tool.
Mm-hmm.
And it also gets the at the end of the turn errata. And the only other card that gets an errata is Hyper Potion. And that is, I don't know what it said before, but now it says heal 120 damage from one of your Pokemon that has at least 2 energy attached to it. If you healed any damage from this Pokemon, discard 2 energy from it.
Okie dokie. I'm not sure what the original one was either. I'm
assuming,
in no deck have I ever run potions. So
I'm assuming it's like Max Potion, and it was heal 120 damage from a Pokemon and then discard 2 energy.
Actually, I did use Max Potions. Now that I think
you
about
could
it.
heal if you didn't have any energy on it, and then you could use effects that let you move energy around. So you can move all the energy off, heal it, and then move the energy back onto it. Now that's not an option.
Okay.
So they're just kind of trying to create or prevent another broken Gardevoir situation like they had before.
Which you loved.
Yeah, I did. It's probably broken dark types if you had to ask me. Because Weavile lets you move energy around freely.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening.
Oh no, my Tyranitar is almost knocked out. Let me play 2 of these potions, and then put all the energy back on it.
Pretty much. So I think that's it for the erratas.
That is it for the erratas.
Okay. Keep going because we got some major changes still to come.
Are you familiar with the rule that says you can't play Professor Sycamore and Professor Juniper in the same deck?
I am aware.
So, those are 2 supporters that have the same effect but different card names. So theoretically, you would be able to play 4 of each, but because of the same effect and it's very powerful, they added the rule that you cannot play both of them at the same time. Well, now they're fixing that with this new change, and the card is just going to be known as Professor's Research.
Yes.
And they're just printing a different professor on each card, but the effect is still discard your hand and draw 7, but it will just be reprinted in every new generation with a different professor.
Yeah. You'll have the picture the same, but the card name will always be the same now going forward, so you're not going to have that problem.
Yeah.
So I support that. I rather than trying to explain, yes, you can have 4 of any card, except that one.
Yeah. Yeah, except any of the cards that have this effect.
Yeah.
I think this creates a really cool opportunity to do a Professor's Research card and then have all the professors on it. Like, that would be a really cool full art promo and probably pretty expensive.
Be kind of neat, too, is if they could make a... at a lot of events, when you go to a regionals or something, they'll have a special alternate art card for that, and it'll have the regional logo on it and everything like that. Make one of these Professor's Research with all the professors on it for the Professor's Cup.
Oh, yeah. That would be so expensive.
That would be insanely expensive.
With the word staff on it, please.
Oh! Can you imagine how much that would go for?
Let's go.
I would sign up for the Professor's Cup, drop after the first round, just so I could get to eBay faster.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, jeez.
So after that, now we can talk about the change of names, or the name changes they're making.
So if you were to stop playing Pokemon TCG, like, I don't know, January 1st, and decide, okay, sometime this summer, I'm coming back into the game. June or July, okay, July 1st, we got Worlds, okay, I'm going to start getting geared up. I'm going to be in 2021. You go to your first event, you're, all right, I'm ready to go. you sit down, you play, and now the game is completely different.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little rough for anybody that played in this format and then is not playing in the next format. That doesn't continue to follow through with everything.
So try to follow us as we go through this. Duck?
All right. So if a Pokemon has a status condition, it doesn't take the damage from poison or burn, or you don't flip for sleep on my turn or during your opponent's turn. You flip for it in a stage that takes place in between turns. This is something that happens quite frequently where people don't understand this. And I think it's because they don't name that part of the turn. So people automatically assume it goes as soon as my turn ends, your turn begins.
You would think that.
But that's not true. There's actually a phase in the turn order, which isn't illustrated very well in any of the rule books or the little diagrams you get with the starter deck. There's a phase, and that's when you take place cards like Shrine of Punishment, cards like Wheezing, cards like things like Poison and Burn. You flip for Sleep on the in-between phase. That is now going to be called Pokemon Checkup.
Yeah, they've actually named it now, and it's going to be. What I would recommend everybody do going forward is actually verbalize the phases as you're going.
I agree.
So when you say, "Okay, time for checkup," and that way you and your opponent, because a lot of times too, what people, he forgot to do something. Hey, judge. Well, guess what? You did too. A lot of times both of people will forget something, and somebody's got that aha moment, thinking I've got them, and then the judge penalizes both of them, and they get all kinds of butthurt about it.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
It does.
You usually see stuff in regionals about people
failure to maintain the game state.
Yes.
So I think with this whole Pokemon checkup thing, my advice to everybody is verbalize. Actually say it out loud so that you and your opponent have the opportunity then to make sure that you're both keeping up with the game state.
So I actually consistently verbalized phases when I was playing, playtesting before, and it just helped me break down turn steps a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have your draw phase, where you draw your card. That's literally all you do. Then your main phase starts. That's when you start playing your energy cards, your supporters, your items. You search your deck for whatever you need to get. And then you enter the battle phase, where you attack, you deal damage. And that is separated into a whole bunch of different phases that, they all have crazy names, and it's kind of hard for newer players to keep track of. And then after the battle phase ends, then you enter the Pokemon checkup phase. And then it's your opponent's draw phase.
For those of you that play Magic, I think people understand that a lot better than people that play Pokemon do.
Yes, that is people that come from other card games definitely understand the phase system a lot better, because a lot of stuff in Pokemon happens all at once, and because you don't repeat any phases during your turn, then it's a little bit more confusing.
Yeah, and you'll see people start whipping through stuff fast as lightning, and you're struggling to try to keep up with them. If they actually did the phase orders like they did with Magic, for example, I think that a lot of that would go away. And when Magic Arena came out, the PC game and tablet game for Magic, similar to Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, it actually has a visual representation of all the different phases as you're going through them. And I kind of wish they would do something like that with PTCGO, so people can actually see that and get that into a habit. Because if they start verbalizing that stuff at tournaments, you're going to have a lot less confusion, especially with these major rule changes going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think the problem with Pokemon is it's a little bit less important, because other card games have the main phase, the battle phase, and then a second main phase where you can continue to play cards after you deal damage and attack, so you can resolve effects that are supposed to happen after something gets, destroyed or knocked out or something.
But just having that visual representation so people understand the phases, because PTCGO is not a moneymaker for Pokemon Company.
Yeah.
There's no ad support on there. It doesn't cost anything to play it. I tell people, this is a great game. You should get it. And I'm not saying it's not now. It's still a great game. You should still get it, and you should still play it. Those code cards come. You're buying the dang packs anyway. You might as well use them.
Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest reasons I played Pokemon competitively instead of other games, is because of the pack of online cards, with a pack of physical cards.
Yeah, and it's a great thing, and it helps people learn to play the game. And I encourage people when they first would come into my league was, you need to download this because this is going to help you, because it forces you to do things correctly. You can't do stuff wrong by accident, and then you and your friend or your brother or your mother or whatever you're playing with, they just accept what you did that was incorrect as the gospel, and you both start playing that way, and you develop bad habits. With PTCGO, you're forced to do it correctly. So I encourage people to play that if they don't now, and new people come in the league, I'd always try to push them in that direction. That being said, I wish that they would have a visual representation of the different phases, just so it could be more of a teaching tool for people that go into playing the physical card game.
One important thing to note, though, about TCGO is that sometimes they do bug something.
They do.
So you cannot always accept something happening on TCGO as the way it plays out in real life.
No,
so
it happens a lot of times, and a lot of times
especially after a new set.
A new set will come out. They'll program these cards in, and you got to give them credit, folks. This cannot be easy to program these.
No,
with
no.
the different diverse actions of these thousands and thousands of cards. It's got to, having it interact with every other card perfectly, there's always going to be a margin of error. And people get all kinds of butthurt. Man, you'd think they'd have this working. Shut up. You didn't pay for it.
No, yeah. I cannot imagine how many lines must be involved and like how many loops and everything must be involved in writing a card that interacts with literally 1,000 other cards.
It's got to be insane. It really does. So, yeah, and everybody keeps saying that, they need to make it better. Well, no, it's pretty good. You gotta give it credit. It's pretty good. I don't complain about it. I mean, but you're gonna have issues, and usually when they figure out that this is a problem, they'll temporarily ban the card.
Yeah.
Until they get it fixed, which a lot of people will then complain. Well, I can't practice for my league cup or something. Go to your local store where you're supposed to be practicing anyway and get some real world practice, folks. This is a tool. This is a game. This isn't something that's you're not entitled to have this.
Right. Yeah, they're not obligated to do what they're doing, and they do it for the love of the game, and it should be appreciated more than it's hated.
Preach on, brother.
So, the only another thing they're naming is, instead of healing status conditions, they are calling it recovering from status conditions. That way there's no confusion between healing damage and recovering status conditions.
I can support that. I mean, it's just a vernacular change. That's all.
And it's just, it's probably highlighting something that they notice confuses a lot of people and then fixing it here. So
just a change in vernacular on that one. That's probably one of the easiest changes to adapt to.
And then, so some Pokemon have abilities that take place during the main phase. So it'll say once during your turn before you attack, do this ability. They're removing that before you attack because it's implied by the rules that you obviously can't activate an ability after you attack. But there are some cards that can interact. Like, there are a few cards that abilities that they intended to work when they were attacked, and so now those abilities are going to work. I guess it's something new they're trying with Sword and Shield.
I mean, it's one of those things. I think I'm gonna have to actually experience that before I can develop.
Right. It's probably hard to put in the words.
Which stinks because we have to be the ones that try to explain this to people.
I think I might be able to find the example they used.
Well, we'll post that on our Facebook page and on our Discord later. What do we have next on the format? Keep your tabs open, Ducky.
Next on the format is cards are now going to feature regulation marks, which we were already predicting this a little bit. And that's how Japan does their rotations, is they have a regulation mark. So all cards from a certain number of sets will have an A on them, and they'll be like, okay, guys, all the A cards, they're rotated. Now you can use B, C, and D. Oh, guys, guess what? All the B cards are now rotated.
Yeah.
So now our cards are going to feature a set symbol, a set number, and a regulation mark in the corner.
And it'll probably make it a little bit easier to predict what the rotations are going to be, because if you know it's in
Right.
a group and you know, okay, this one group is really old, well, that whole group's going to go.
Yep. That's true. And I believe this was one of the reference points I used as evidence that we might be moving towards that global standard, but
Which
that
that kind
still
of
remains to be
that
seen.
kind of got nixed for the time being, but we're hopeful,
Yeah.
folks. We're still hopeful.
Not anytime soon, but I think they might be taking small steps in that direction. I still am convinced of that, at least.
Yeah, I still contend not having a global standard actually puts the Japanese players at a disadvantage, but they're the ones that are controlling the thing, so whatever. That's what they want. Okay. So
That
we also
is it
have
for the rule changes.
that's it for the rule changes. Oh my god. Like oh well, that's all. No, like oh my god, we're finally through them. So what's this Pokemon Powers collection that I'm
So
hearing
apparently this was revealed a while ago, and I think I missed it and never talked about it on the podcast. Or if I did talk about it on the podcast, I don't remember talking about it.
about? Let's talk about it now.
So it's coming out in March, and it's going to be one of those, $50 boxes with a bunch of promos and a bunch of packs.
That I won't buy.
It's going to be focused on EV stuff. So it'll feature a bunch of promos and then a jumbo card of either Espeon Deoxys or Umbreon Darkrai tag team. And then the most notable promos, there's some of the cards from that Tag All-Star set that we never saw.
Yeah.
And it's just, the alternate art of Deoxys and Espeon, not the full art, not the Rainbow Rare, the alternate art of both Deoxys Umbreon and Deoxys Espeon and Umbreon Darkrai.
Well, you got them close. And I think this is more of Pokemon's push to introduce Eevee as the secondary main character.
Yeah, they're definitely
I'll be honest with
releasing
you.
lots of product.
I'm actually kind of shocked with the new anime that Hop's partner wasn't an Eevee. I'm serious. I'm actually shocked it's not.
You mean Go?
Go, whatever the heck his name is. Idiot. How's that? I do not like that character. I will not like that character.
I think you will like that character.
But even that being said, I'm surprised Hop didn't have an Eevee with him the whole time in Sword and
Go?
Shield. No, I'm talking about Hop in Sword and Shield. I'm actually shocked he didn't have an Eevee, because they are so pushing Eevee to be a secondary character that's right up there with Pikachu as a mascot for the game. Like when you look at all the physical media they put out there to promote stuff, like the mascot costumes, you see Pikachu and you see Eevee. In all their advertisements now, you'll see the 3 original starters from Kanto. You'll see your Bulbasaur, your Charmander, your Squirtle, and Eevee. You're seeing Eevee right up there with Pikachu now, and that's part of their whole push to do that. Now you're seeing that in the TCG as well, because people like Eevee, and they're trying to push more and more for people to accept it as a mascot, as a backup, so that people don't get tired of looking at that yellow rat.
I know plenty of people that collect Eevee and Evolution artworks. So this is probably like a push to target those people, because it's just like anytime they print a Charizard card, that product sells and flies off the shelf. That's probably what they're going for with this and all the other product they've been printing.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One of the other promos are the full art EVGX. We got the alternate art in the Pikachu and Eevee collection box not too long ago, the really ugly one. And then, oddly enough, Caracostal GX, which is a card that we thought was going to make a big impact on the meta and then never printed.
Yeah, we expect things to happen a lot of times, and you start preparing for them, and then they just never happen.
Yeah. And there's a couple other promos, but they're like baby Pokemon, and they didn't seem that important.
Right on.
So I didn't put them down. And then I just want to point out that from Tag All-Stars, there are 40 other cards, not including the ones that I just read off, that were never featured in our English sets. And
they could just be saving those for other sets going forward as well.
The Powers collection was the last the last Sun and Moon product that was, pre-order, that was going to be distributed in the time being. So unless they're going to throw a product in the middle of anything, they might do a Sun and Moon premium collection like they did for X and Y. Maybe this winter, like next.
Yeah, and it'll just be the alternate arts. People that, I mean, it might benefit people that play Expanded, but
I wouldn't be surprised if we get 2. I mean, these cards will still be legal for another year after that.
True.
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get 2. There's a lot. There's full art, alternate art for full art welder, alternate red, blue, and greens with their signature Pokemon next to them. There are plenty and plenty of cards that people chase.
Yeah,
full art Jirachi, full art.
We are starting to see a lot better art. We went through a phase where it was very plain, and I think we're coming up now where they're making the cards look prettier. You know what I mean? They're actually making it from a collector standpoint. You're looking at these cards going, ooh, shiny.
Especially the VMAX full arts compared to like Pokemon GX full arts. I think it's a big step in the right direction.
Yep. So does that wrap up our TCG news?
That does.
So we have a little bit of a let's keep it on Pokemon for a second. Okay. For those of you that are at all interested, Twilight Wings' first episode came out. It is available on YouTube. Was it available on the Pokemon streaming service as well? Or is it just YouTube exclusive?
I think it does appear. I didn't check the Pokemon the Pokemon TV app, but I imagine it is.
Yeah, but it is available on YouTube, which is probably the easiest way to get to it. It's not bad. It's not like it's not like it's a side story. It's a very insignificant side story, but it's if you just enjoy it for what it is, it's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the story will continue. There's going to be 5 or 6 more episodes of this to come out once a month.
Yep, and this episode, I'm not going to give it away because it's so easy to just go and watch. It's only I think 11 minutes long.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
And it revolved around a completely original character having an interaction with Chairman Rose.
Yep.
So go out and watch it. It's pretty good. And that's really all I want to say about it because I want people to actually go there and see it because it was pretty good. So big news. I literally just heard about this today. Temtem.
Okay.
Tell me about what you think of Temtem.
So
and let's say what Temtem is first. It is an online MMO RPG that they even call it Pokemon-like.
It's inspired by Pokemon. Yeah.
Inspired, we say. In other words, we said, well, we're going to make this, instead of a yellow rat, we're going to make him blue. Or, it's a way that people's tried to side skirt it, but essentially it's a Pokemon clone.
That is the category I would call this.
So go on. So
I've been following Temtem for quite a while. There was a Kickstarter for it a long time ago where you could pay, obscene amounts of money to their Kickstarter and actually design a Temtem.
Wow.
And then people get a statue of themselves in the game. A lot of YouTubers backed it and are going to have statues in the game.
Literally, this is the first I've heard about it today.
So originally, I was super excited for this. I'm excited for anything like Pokemon. I wouldn't mind if something bumped Pokemon out of the way or forced Pokemon to be a little bit better.
Up your game, folks.
That's I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind if another thing like scratched the itch that Pokemon scratches for me. That would be great. So at first I thought, okay, maybe Temtem is this. All these people that influence me are excited for it. And then the beta came out for everybody that backed it, got to play like a short, 2 hours, some beta. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look that great. So then I kind of died down. And then yesterday, I stopped following it. Yesterday, I'm looking around YouTube videos and I keep seeing Pokemon, watch out, Temtem's inbound. Big Pokemon competitor coming through. And so I'm like, oh, Temtem's a thing now. So now I've been watching people that are playing Temtem currently, or I've played in their stress tests they've been doing, and they made a lot of improvements since that beta. And now I'm back and excited for it. It comes out tomorrow.
See, I'm I like the idea of an MMORPG in Pokemon. We're not going to get it. Pokemon is not the way their whole company is structured. You're not going to have that MMORPG. You're going to come out with the same installments every 2 years or so, with every other year being a remake or something. But so for those of you that ever have that hope, other than something like Poke1, which is a fan-based project, I don't think we're going to see an MMORPG in our near future. I think my wish for a Pokemon game on the Oculus is probably more obtainable than Pokemon creating an MMORPG.
So you don't think with them creating co-op play, or like you don't think they're testing things out to see if they could get to get to that someday?
No, I don't. And in reality is too, like on Nintendo hardware, we typically don't see true. I don't know of any true MMORPGs. There's ones out there that exist, and like you can exist in a certain period in instances, but there's really no. The hardware is just not there for it, and it's just there's not a way to support it because everyone that plays in an MMORPG gets completely ingrained in there. Now, I don't really. If you had the right universe, I would get in on it. Like the only MMORPG I've ever played like intently was Final Fantasy Online. I played that. It was Final Fantasy 11 Online, I believe is what it was called.
Oh, okay. I played 14 online for a time.
No, this was back in the original on the PlayStation 2. Yeah. You had to buy the hard drive with it, and I played that, and I enjoyed it to an extent. Well, unless you were playing with a decent group of people, it was boring as hell. With Nintendo's online services and the way they are, you just don't have that capability to meet people, to friend them, and create guilds or groups or whatever you want to call them. I'm actually having a much easier time doing that on my bloody Oculus than I am on my Switch. With the Switch, what's your friend code? And it's umpteen digits long, and then there's a lot of times in the games there's no real way to like friend somebody unless you have a way of communicating with them outside of the game. They don't really foster you meeting up with randos. They want you to get your friends into the ecosystem, I guess. And I don't see Pokemon coming off of the Switch or the Nintendo ecosystem anytime soon. We have small cracks in the armor with mobile, but Nintendo's also producing mobile games now, so it's probably under the same auspice as that. But I don't see like a Pokemon game being officially released on a PC ever.
Well, they should.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. Yeah. I'm just talking about the culture in which the games are. I don't foresee it happening. But,
no, yeah, I guess I wouldn't. I'm hopeful for that, but I would not be surprised if we never get it. Especially not if they keep continuing. Like maybe if the Switch had seen the same success as the like the Wii U. If they had a second console like that bombed like that, then I think maybe they might have looked at selling their IPs or licensing them out. But I highly doubt with the success of the Switch that anything like that's going to happen anytime soon.
This is very true. The only way I can see that IP going is if they went the way of Sega and quit producing consoles. Because then at that point we got to put it somewhere.
I'd be okay with that. I don't need to buy 3 consoles every generation.
See, that's
and Nintendo's the one that's behind all the other developers anyway.
See that, and with me, it's a little bit different. I used to be very loyal to Microsoft. I was an Xbox player, Xbox. Prior to that, I was a Sega player. I didn't do Nintendo. I had an NES, and then I never owned an SNES. I think I had an N64 for a little while. But I didn't have a whole lot of games for it. It's not like I had this huge library of N64 games. And I've never done that. Now that I'm getting a little gray, I've started, my Xbox is in my oldest son's room right now. And I think he's playing Halo Wars or something. But I'm very, very, very happy with my Switch because I can take it with me places. I can play with it for a short amount of time and then just put it in sleep mode and set it on the table. I don't have to dedicate hours of my day to it. Now, that being said, I'm also kind of obsessed with my Oculus. I've been playing Star Trek Bridge Crew for the past couple days nonstop. Which, if you're into any kind of VR games, get that. It is awesome. Not a paid endorsement, but with this Temtem, this might be your answer to a Pokemon outside of the Nintendo sphere.
Well, Temtem, when it's not releasing tomorrow on Switch, but when it's finally done in their estimated year, they estimated in 2021, it will be releasing on, Switch, Xbox, and PS4.
I was not aware of that. That's actually outstanding.
Maybe they're testing the waters for Nintendo. Maybe if Nintendo's like, oh crap, they can do it. Well, screw it, we can do it too.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo has I don't know what the structure and the ownership is. Nintendo doesn't 100% control Pokemon. They have influence, and they may have a partial ownership, but the Pokemon Company International is its own independent company. Game Freak is a game developer who makes games for the Pokemon Company and releases them exclusively on Nintendo products. So
right.
There's a distinction there. The possibility exists that Pokemon could turn around and say, you know what? We are going to put it on the PC. Just the way Japanese companies work, though, and the strong partnership they have had for so long, I don't foresee it happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I doubt it. But, if they can run the MMO on the Switch, is what I'm saying, then we could potentially see Pokemon do an MMO on the Switch.
It's possible. I'm not gonna say it's impossible.
But they gotta up their server game, because I shouldn't be lagging in the wild area with the way it's not even real time movement for other players.
And that's I honestly wish they weren't even there, because it's more of an annoyance than anything.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't need to. Oh, look, there's a character. Someone that looks like something that someone made one time, speaking in French. Here it is again, speaking in German.
Because I don't care about curry, I often make sure I go offline when I'm in the wild area, just so I don't have to move slow. I don't have to look at 15 FPS.
Fair enough. Now with this game, Temtem, it looks very microtransaction-y. Not as though it's like a play to win, but it looks like it's going to have 1,001 customizable options, i.e. Roblox
or Fortnite.
Yeah. So I think you're seeing it's possible that you're gonna see a lot of predatory marketing when it comes to that. But again, I'm not gonna pass judgment until the game's actually in the wild.
It's not like that even stops people from playing it or from buying it.
No.
Look at Fortnite.
No, you want to talk about predatory? Let's talk about Fortnite. Let's talk about these people. I'm just gonna say people that work at GameStop. And when Grandma comes in, I need to buy a game for little Timmy, and he plays the Xbox. And they're like, well, you should try this Fortnite game. Here it is. It's only $30. Wow, that's a great deal. Little Timmy's gonna love this.
You mean that game everybody's playing is only $30?
Yeah. And this I actually saw this happen. I've seen it happen more than once, where these jackasses are selling this box that doesn't have a physical copy of the game in it. It literally has the download card where it has directions on where you download it for free anyway. Guess what, folks? If you don't play Fortnite, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. That $30 that Grandma just spent on there, she's not buying the game. She's buying the in-game currency.
Yeah.
Jackass.
That is something a lot of people should be aware of. Now, at my store, the GameStop that I worked at, we did make sure we told people. Like, the manager was very adamant about that, not lying to people.
Yeah, well, that's not the GameStop philosophy. And
and GameStop is definitely getting shadier and shadier by the day.
By the day.
Every time I walk in GameStop, they make me mad. and I've been defending GameStop for quite a long time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. There's not a snowball's chance in hell that I will defend that store. It's become so predatory at this point that I cringe having to walk in there, and I'm digging that Walmart is doing the games are $10 less there.
Yeah,
and I'm kind of dreading the day GameStop does go out of business, because those prices will go back up. But at the same time, I'll be kind of like, yay, finally, the evil empire has fallen. Get rid of these lying douchebags. The only people I feel bad for in the whole scenario are the people that are actually there trying to make a living.
yeah. I wish there was some other way I could monetize old games, but it's going to be a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll have more cash.
I love when the stock reports come out for GameStop, because you would think the meme would get old, but it really doesn't. Is whenever somebody comes out, will say GameStop dropped 20 points, possibly looking for a buyer, and it'll be somebody saying, my, how the tables have turned. I'll give you $2 in store credit.
Oh, that's great.
And it happens every time that they have a stock report come out. Usually it's quarterly, but it still makes me laugh, because there's a guy that's on YouTube. You can follow him. His name's Camelot. I think it's Camelot28, and his channel is just almost entirely smoking GameStop for their predatory practices. That's his entire bloody channel, and he's pretty much right, spot on. I went into a GameStop today, and the store lead, whatever the heck he is, SM, whatever they call him. He knows me. He knows very well that I just don't dig on that crap, and don't even try to assert yourself on there, because I'm gonna tell you to bugger off. As soon as I pulled my cell phone out, he started looking at me. What kind of phone you got there? And I just shot him the glare. I shot him a glare, and he shut him down, because he knew damn well. It's like, you ain't getting my phone, homie. But I did see him go over and write it down in the book, because now they have to do the tech trades, and they have to document all their tech trade attempts. So he's doing everything he can to keep his job. I don't fault him for that. I do fault them for the fact that they're not telling people about their membership card that does squat now. The only thing that it used to be, 10% off of used games. It doesn't even do that anymore, folks. They're going to tell you, well, you get $5 a month coupon you can use. And for some people, that's going to be great, until you realize that coupon expires every month.
Here's another kicker that I just found out. Now I got it with points, so there's no loss here. But
we'll spit it out.
You can't use the $5 coupon for used games.
Really?
Do you know the last time I bought a brand new game from GameStop?
There's no point anymore, because they're cheaper at Walmart.
Yeah. I don't know how long we got to go on a GameStop rant.
We could have a whole episode tell them GameStop where to stick it. But so Tim Tam.
I am going to buy it. I'm pretty sure I have the Steam cash from birthday stuff, so I can just straight up buy it tomorrow, and I will let you guys know what I think.
What's the game? What's the price on it?
$35 for in while it's early access. It'll probably go up.
Well, being it's an MMORPG, though, is it going to have a monthly subscription to it, or is it going to just be one-time price and that's it?
One-time purchase. $35. Well, for now, it might be $60 when it comes out on full release on consoles and stuff, but for now it's $35. It might only be $40 because it is an indie developer, so you can't guess what price.
Right, with indie developers you can't guess it, but also it just seems kind of weird that they're going to be running a persistent server for an MMORPG and not charge a subscription for it.
Well, they're probably hoping to pay for that with their however they monetize the costumes and stuff. But I don't know how much they're actually able to monetize costumes and things like that if they're selling it on console too.
Well, you have games like that have visual things like Fortnite that we already talked about that. Every once in a while,
you're right.
Once in a while, my oldest gets a hair up his butt and will come in and go, "Can I get some V-Bucks?" And he knows the answer is no. But yeah, that'll probably be where they try to make it back. Is there? I guarantee you, this playing. I think it's gonna be microtransaction into oblivion. So
We'll see. I'll let everybody know. I'll definitely be posting updates in the Discord probably all week.
yeah,
while I
definitely
play.
keep up on that because we do have a pretty active Discord lately. If anybody's interested, you can just hit one of us up for a link, and there is one on the Twitch page as well down below. That being said, I think that's about all we have this week, Duck.
Yeah, definitely.
So just a reminder, everybody, that the Mount Moon Review podcast is available every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/the_Razgrees01. That being said, we are possibly exploring either changing days or possibly, this is less likely as a different platform for the podcast, but we might be changing days on there. That's up in the air right now. It's not something that's going to happen in the next week or two, so we will keep everybody posted on that if you're like a regular viewer, so you'll know ahead of time. But you can also catch us both on Twitter. I'm at the_Razgrees01. You got the Blue Duck Gold Duck. That's Blue Duck Gold Duck without the E. You can find us on Facebook, the_Razgrees01, as well as at Mount Moon Podcast. We post a lot of information on there. That site needs to see a boost. So if you want to go in there and give that a like, I'd be much appreciative. If you haven't done so yet, if you hit the little heart on our Twitch page, too many TWs, that also helps tremendously. And you get a free podcast each and every week where you don't have to pay a bloody dime, available on Twitch, on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcast, and any other number of leeches that have found our RSS feed and added it to their service.
Wait, if they pay us money, I'll wear a costume.
Okay.
Just kidding.
All right, folks, get Duck a banana costume or a duck costume. There you go. That being said, folks, have yourselves a tremendous week. Duck, get us out of here.
All right, guys, until next time, just remember, if it's too good to be blue, it's probably gold.
Have a week.
Just because your guard is magic, you think you're safe because you killed my life orb. Baby, do you dare to not flinch? 'Cause I'm coming at you like a dark pulse. I know you're gonna throw. You're gonna throw a storm. But I got that lucky chance. There's no critical hits.